So, as many people know, and as many people are navigating, this Wednesday, the executive office implemented a new tariff policy, which includes a minimum 10% tariff as well as additional tariffs on almost every single country. And therefore, we're in a period of time where small business owners in specific segments, anyone who relies on products that come from international sources, are trying to navigate how to get through this time, how to survive, and then how to make sure that you've got the infrastructure to start thriving again. I'm going to pick William's brain and sort of get his perspective on some of the things that small business owners should be thinking about right now, should be putting into place right now in order to be proactive versus reactive in this current period of time. Even though, yes, we are reacting, but still there is time to be proactive. So, Will, I'm going to sort of open up with an easy question. Who are the businesses that are most impacted by these tariffs right now? It seems like a little bit of everybody.
It's going to be a little bit of everybody. I think obviously we want to make clear like this is going to affect businesses in the consumer products sector. It'll ripple beyond that sector in terms of businesses that have to import something physical from overseas. Now, depending on different industries, you might be importing something intellectual from another country, and that might be challenged by immigration policy, but here we're talking about physical goods. So services businesses generally are going to be okay, depending on sort of what they need in order to provide those services. The most acutely affected are going to be probably, this is a continued margin hit for the apparel industry in particular, which saw the ability to do sort of like a 321 loophole for tariff avoidance closed in December, and now we'll see this on the Chinese market and a few other South Asian markets that are major apparel hubs, but it will really affect any goods. I mean, obviously cars are the biggest one, but most small businesses aren't making cars yet.
For sure, without a doubt. And so, if you're in the consumer product space, I also think it's going to have an impact on food and beverage, right? Because even, from a packaging perspective, right? Like those incremental
packaging,
costs.
Like a tiny little ingredient that you don't think of, like almost all of the synthetic caffeine, and whether you want to be drinking synthetic caffeine or not, that's your call. But most of that is coming from China. But anyway, yeah, like I think ingredients more than finished goods will be affected. But to be honest, like it's pretty shocking when you get down into it, like how much of our products, even the made in the USA products, is going to include something that comes from overseas as a component or an ingredient.
Without a doubt.
And let's be clear, all of that is affected.
Correct. And so, listen, when innately costs jump overnight, right? Small business owners are the first to feel it, and the last to really get the support they need. And so if you're a small business owner in this space, right? Well, what would, if I'm waking up today and I'm thinking about, all right, like what do I need to do? What would be the first action you would take in that space? Is it, have a conversation with your manufacturers? Is it look at your numbers? Where would you start?
It's a really difficult question. And I just want to break down, like, why do small businesses feel it first and sort of like feel the help last? And the reason for that is because small businesses are constantly threading a needle where overwhelmingly the unit economics to produce the products that they're selling, especially small businesses in the category we're describing, are going to force them to price higher than a really large publicly traded company that does something similar. And so there has to be a good reason for that upcharge. It's not that they're making more money per sale, it's that they are spending more on their cost of goods sold, so they have to charge a higher price. The tariffs like this are massively disruptive because the only way to preserve the margin position, and in fact, often to keep the margin position positive, is to raise prices on goods. However, consumers are very fickle about how willing they are to accept a price increase. We're seeing the conversation about eggs all over the country. Everyone's mad about the eggs, right? The thing will happen if your favorite small brand increases prices. It's really easy to just walk into a superstore and buy an alternative. So that's why the small businesses are going to feel it first, because any component that is coming from overseas, at least 10% decline in your gross margin on that. that's not an insignificant sum, and it's not going to be survivable for a lot of small businesses that by necessity are running on a very thin cash flow margin that is necessary to sustain their growth over time. So the things to do, I think I name checked a couple of them, but primarily renegotiating the supply chain and figuring out what opportunities exist to improve the margins back to the position that they were at or near it. That can often happen through bulk purchases. So if you're buying small volume, you can increase the volume that you're purchasing. Now you might need to tap into access to capital in order to do that, get some inventory financing. Note that you're going to pay interest on that inventory financing. So that's where cash flow planning gets really into it. But if I could give you like the trifecta of a perfect blend to get you as close as possible to a good managed solution here, it would be a 13-week cash flow forecast that's being updated weekly with your actual numbers. Now, that's something that we've built in the background at Bags, and we're really excited to launch for businesses. So that you take that 13-week cash flow, you take that supply chain negotiation and strategy, and you take a good lending partner. And in order to have that lending partner, of course, you want to have, you know what we preach, clean financials, comprehensive loan package, good understanding of the use of funds, get that deal done. Especially now, if you watch my solo episode, you know that if you have a single 1.7% of your company is owned by a foreign citizen, foreign national, you can't get an SBA loan. Like, you need to find the right partner. And if you have those two things, you'll likely be in a position where you can navigate this ecosystem, because for all we know, tariffs could be gone next week.
And that's the truth, right? But still, the action that William recommended, whether tariffs are gone next week or gone in 2 years, that
Every
doesn't
business,
change,
do
because
it
it's
anyway.
important for you to set yourself up to be resilient, right, in changing economic times, right? And so understanding your numbers, understanding your cash flow, having conversations with your suppliers, and just know, right, the suppliers still want your business. And so really try to think of them as partners, try to make sure that you can negotiate, right? Like they're trying to navigate it on their side as well, right? So if you can get two terms, even if they're shorter term terms that are better for you and allow you to keep your margins, great. And then really make sure that you got the books, the docs, et cetera, in order to go out and pursue proactively the right type of financing to really enable you, to set yourself up in a scenario where you've got a little bit more leverage in order to continue the pathway of growth forward. Because I'd call this a tide is out environment, right? Where the tide is out, right? Our job, if we're in our boat, we got to stay afloat, because those who survive when the tide's coming back in are going to win really big and end up being really big businesses. This is the truth. So we will definitely be talking a lot more about this. We'll also talk a little bit more about some of the current lending products that might work in this environment, but we will be sure to keep the community updated as we are seeing, various news, various adjustments to the current policies in place happen in real time. But at the end of the day, right, like small businesses, the ones who are most prepared now and proactive now and know their numbers now are the ones who are going to be able to continue to drive their business forward. If you need help and support, don't forget to reach out. This is what we do all day long, is prepare businesses to have the financial documentation they need, the cash flow visibility they need in order to receive the right type of capital to continue to grow, to continue to thrive, albeit the total environment. So Bags is in your corner. If you need help, let us know. William, any last words from you?
Yes, I want to just say that you should remember the mantra, short, brief mantra that we say for all businesses, especially in uncertain environments, which is do not take out a short-term loan, meaning anything less than 12 months in terms of the term, in an environment where things are uncertain, because it will suffocate your cash flow. So we'll say that one more time. Do not take out a short-term loan in an uncertain environment, meaning a loan less than 12 months, because it will affect your cash flow position. You need a lot more flexibility than that. And I say that because I have seen some folks recommending some short-term lenders as a buffer in this position. Buying yourself 6 months ain't gonna solve the problem. So we're going for at least 12. Remember it. Stay strong.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you. Deuces.